OTAN, Outreach and Technical Assistance Network.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for coming into our presentation today. Good morning. I'm Maricel, and that's Michelle, and that's Michael, and our coach is back there. Her name is Susan. We're just doing a presentation on navigating resistance to technology implementation at our school, Eastside Adult Education. That is down in East San Jose. And we just wanted to do an update on our projects and accomplishments. But also, whoops. I guess something to say. We're going to be talking about Canvas, how we're handling professional development incorporating technology, and an ESL hybrid course. Funny story. My second objective didn't say, but let's just have that as a guessing game, shall we? We'll have an update on Eastside Adult Education's DLAC project. And the second objective is to kind of guide you and show you how we were able to navigate some resistance implementing our project, but also hopefully that's something you could bring away from this presentation. And we'd love to hear suggestions from you as well. So first up is our dear Michael.
So I have this picture here. It was not AI generated. It was, at least as far as I know. I mean, I got it a few years ago. It was a World Wildlife Photography competition. I think it summarizes in some respect. What was that?
Can you make it bigger so we can see?
Can we make it bigger?
I don't think so. We're on full screen right now.
We can increase our size. Yeah. If you can't see it, there's a wolf.
Yeah.
Anybody know what kind of an animal that is? That other one? I believe it's a marmot.
What's the marmot?
It's red. It was an award winner. You know, typical of, I think what I and many Eastside teachers are up to in dealing with technology and Canvas is I'm the Canvas administrator, by the way, also, and I teach ESL. And I put together, we have, a Canvas shell with a lot of how-to videos and things. And then down towards the bottom, there are some how-to videos and links on attributions. When we take someone else's photograph and put it into our presentation to our Canvas shells, we're supposed to, I didn't attribute anything here. And hardly any of our teachers look at those how-to videos or really consider these kind of things. So that's the one thing about it. But I think it's, I put Canvas LMS above the wolf. It could just say digital technology rather than strictly the Canvas LMS. It could also be administrators asking people to do things. I'm a big fan of academic freedom. I think sometimes some of the resistance is that Canvas is kind of pushed on people and we don't push that hard. And then in the marmot, I don't think, in some ways this looks like fear. I think fear is one of the big emotions for our teachers, but it isn't always simply fear. I think there's also simple avoidance or apathy that blocks people's uptake, not only of Canvas, but of digital tools in general. But the marmot isn't helpless. It's got significant claws. I think the LMS knows that its eyes can be gouged out if it gets too close. And so I think that's an important thing that for the teachers to realize that they have the freedom to use it as a tool to manipulate it as they wish to deliver student outcomes rather than to be tormented by it. So last year, some of you were probably at TDLS and we gave a presentation down there at Sweetwater, and all I came up with was a series of slides with these 10 different verbs. And there were ways that I was trying to think about Canvas and how we could implement it better and how to deal with our students, or not, well, in this case, the teachers who would be the students. But I'll touch on these again as I go through a couple of other slides. In particular, I mean, like fail, that we have to be ready to fail in the classroom. I think that was a big theme if you were at the keynote yesterday. I think I did another OTAN training where I think it was the best class or Deborah Jensen. And at the beginning of every class, we would talk about a digital failure that we had in class and share that. So I think that's an important thing to embrace. Curate and iterate, I'm definitely gonna hit these. In curate, you don't have to reinvent the wheel yourself. There's lots of materials you can get out there, including full-made canvas shells. Iterate, that's the beauty of it. For me, I don't try to build one canvas shell I'm gonna use forever. I try to, you take over what you want from a past semester and bring it into a new and constantly change it, make it evolve. So one of the big lessons when, again, I'm the Canvas administrator, when I help on our teachers, I try to, the copy to button, how do I send something from one shell to another shell? Send over what works and leave behind what didn't. And simplify. So we'll come back to these as we go through a few things. So this is some basic, we started, I think, in summer of 2021. This is courses, how many courses or how many shells we have during each semester. Growing, backed off a little bit in spring. I think there's reasons for that. Teachers versus term. Right now, we have about 15 active teachers. I mean, we have more on our list that have a Canvas account, but for these numbers, I only went with people who actually have published and enrolled. Because in past semesters, they've had a shell, but they don't necessarily use it. But really, the most interesting one, I think, is probably this, students versus term. So by spring 2024, pretty significant jump. Again, without the teachers having gone up or the number or shells. So what that looks like to me is that we have teachers are actually putting the students into the class, publishing the class and using it. So we're actually getting more engagement. We haven't had a huge growth in the number of teachers using it, although there has been slow growth. And a couple of the new ones that have come on have brought along with them, 28 getting high students, something like that. And that's really bumped our numbers. So there has been slow progress in getting teachers on board. I think that kind of the density of what's going on has helped. Couple of things. This is one of the ways that we used to train people. As you see up in the top left is updated 6/22/2020. So as I was saying before, curate and iterate. This is what we got. It's essentially available in Commons, but it's grown a bit long in the tooth and it needs to be let go of. Like there's better tools for training. It was a good start for us. Another thing about it is that we got 4 hours of paid PD to do this. But really, I think there's more efficient ways to get people started in Canvas. So again, it's about iterating, changing what we do. This is the Canvas training portal. It's hidden behind the help button. A lot of people have never seen it. You get in there and this is instructor made stuff. Some of it is live trainings you can join. Some of it is on demand, but it comes in small bites. I don't know if you can see it, but 13 minutes, 30 minutes. There's some that are longer and it's much more than just these 4 or 8 classes that you see there. So you get pretty focused and intense training. So this is what I've been trying to guide teachers into, and that's how I envision how we would train new teachers going forward. This is the course shell. I'm not going to take you into the course shell, but our previous Canvas administrator started it. I tried to continue it. Instructor guides, student guides. One thing here, this is thing, you try to reinvent the wheel, you make how-to videos for people, they aren't necessarily going to watch it. You give them links to all of the different guides and things that instructors made. Again, they won't necessarily go to it. So what I found is really individual training or responding with a how-to video to a specific question rather than trying to build out a full course of instruction on it and to utilize it. This is, we won't go into it, but apart from the fact that instructor is back to the wolf thing, it is a for-profit. They're doing well off of this. But we just had a PD recently. Rather than making a slideshow, I put everything into a Canvas shell. Again, limited engagement. Often I'm the only person who watches my videos. Also trying to make it easy. These are, again, for ESL, the Cambridge series, the Venture series, they put together these full course shells, perfectly aligned with the textbook. I thought that was gonna be an easy way to get teachers on board. Not so much. Usually then they turn their nose up and say, well, I'd rather make my own material. But it's worked for a couple. So again, that gets back to that list of words. It really is to simplify and curate. There's lots of materials out there. Try to simplify things for people, but even that, they won't necessarily take it up. Then they need to be able to, take it, make it their own. I personally run a course with one shell where I make everything on my own and another shell with one of these. Other teachers have begun to combine them and to turn it into something that they feel will be effective. Again, we've been drawing from Commons. OTAN makes these wonderful things. Same thing, certain teachers, for instance, putting English to work one, that's allowed us to use Canvas at the beginning high level really effectively. Some of the others, Right Stuff, Advanced ESL, you give it to teachers, they don't necessarily say, well, it's nice, but I really want to do other things. So the way I've tried to see it is that, well, this is a way to get them in there, get them looking around and then think, well, they're not afraid of it anymore and they come in and see, well, I want to make it my, to my needs. Finally, this is a golden handshake. Our district is offering one right now. I think one of the problems is, not to be an ageist at all, but a lot of people they've been around for a long time in ESL. They don't want to take on the new technology. What we really need is more of a, not necessarily a youth movement, but I think sometimes it's bringing in new teachers who are welcome rather than trying to beat your head against the wall, trying to get recalcitrant teachers, on board. So that's just meant to get the conversation started. Sorry if I went on too long.
You did.
Maricel.
Thank you. Alrighty, so I'm gonna build up on Michael's presentation because the way that we addressed professional development was actually through Canvas. Because if you are familiar with Canvas, you can put so many things on there. You can make your own videos, you can use Canvas to edit videos. What I've been doing is putting editing videos that I've edited and placing it in Canvas, and then breaking it down into smaller modules. So one of the challenges that we were facing using technology at our school was time schedule conflicts. So any sort of professional development, even when it wasn't digital, it was like ERWC, where you try to get people to go through levels of writing in different subjects. So when we were offered professional development, there was usually a time or schedule conflict for teachers. There is a morning session and an evening session, but there are actually some teachers who work in the afternoon, and some of our sessions were in the afternoon. And then, of course, morning teachers say, I have another job, I gotta go. Or the evening teachers would say, I'm a high school teacher. I can't really go to your professional development because I'm still teaching until 3 o'clock. So that was one of our conflicts with professional development. Motivation to even attend professional development. We like the green stuff, and I mean money, right? And then after that, it's using the technology once the professional development is done. So I guess I'm gonna throw the question at everyone at Zoom, in the Zoom meeting, and everyone else here. What kind of resistance have you guys met, whether it's professional development or technology?
I have one comment.
Yes, sir. Take it away.
Again, I'm our Canvas administrator and I'm available to help students, teachers, but in the afternoons, Tuesdays and Thursdays. A lot of them, they're not there. Maybe they work a swing shift, so there's a problem just in availability.
Yeah,
I can really.
thank you.
So I know for our school, our Canvas is managed by our consortium.
Mhm.
And so there was definitely like a tenseness between the teachers and the consortium manager, I would say, just as far as they didn't really click.
Mhm.
So that, I think, is still kind of looming as we're really trying to get everybody to use Canvas even just a little bit. So that's one of the hard parts, is so we've had to add additional help from like myself as a program specialist or from teacher teams and things like that, so that it like softens this kind of like, that's coming from the consortium type of thing.
Absolutely, and that's a different kind of resistance too. It's like, how do they know what we need? And so for our professional development, the definition for our school, at least at Eastside, is that the teachers are active and they're actively participating and they produce deliverables during the training. And that's how we would get paid for professional development, even if we're just a bot. But, you know, so this was one of my solutions. This is the front page of our professional development course. This right here, ooh, thank you. That worked out really well. This is our school logo, so I tried to, unify everyone and try to make it look official. And right now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offerings there, but I was only able to complete one, which was gamification, which is one of the presentations I did for our professional development, which happened at the beginning of February. So keeping it simple like this for our tech-resistant teachers makes it easier for them to say, oh, look, I only have one thing to click on, and that's okay. So this is how I present the modules in Canvas. I mean, there's kind of really only one way to present modules in Canvas, but I did it where I'd have a presentation and that would be a slide. In this case, it's a Google slide or a video, and it's broken down into smaller digestible parts. So originally I had one slide that had about 10 slides, but for the to incorporate it into Canvas, I broke them up into like 3 slides or 4 slides. And then I added a trial. Of course, it's gamification, right? So you have a trial in a game, but actually it's just a quiz. And the reason for that is to check that the teachers are actively participating, which is what we need to be paid for professional development, and to show that they understand the content. So I added here an interaction or participation as if the teacher was physically in the classroom, and that is the discussion portion of Canvas. Do I have time to show the Canvas? I do? Okay. It's gonna go really quick here. So this is how I originally began it. Here's the slides, quick instruction. Sure. And there's actually some sounds in this, but I don't think I probably have to unmute, but that's okay because it's just a demonstration. So for gamification, of course, gamification, you have different levels. Level 1 is the introduction part. Lots of information because this is a Google Slides and they won't be able to just be in the physical presentation. You have to actually put as much information as you can on the slides, or you could also add some audio. You can add audio into Google Slides so that you're lecturing while the slide is playing. Visuals, of course, I added those so that I was trying to get at least an hour of interaction here. And of course, click next on the Canvas window, which would bring you to the first quiz. Of course, I'm in the admin view or the teacher view, so you won't be able to see that unless you did a student view. But after that comes the second part of the slide. So you kind of see how when you have a full slide in person, you don't break it up like this, but when you are doing Canvas and you're trying to incorporate knowledge checks and incorporate some sort of discussion or participation, you have to actually break up the slides. So that was part of mine here. All right, for the Canvas professional development to be successful, at least in my course, my professional development course, I use Zoom. Zoom is a great way to record video without an extra camera in the room. I use Canvas because the videos, the interaction, the quizzes all have to go somewhere, and Canvas is great. With that, I tried using Google Classroom. It's very limited compared to Canvas, especially when you have something as big as professional development for other teachers. A microphone, a microphone was so important. Even the little microphones that you clip right to your shirt, that could be used by just placing it on the desk, taping it down somewhere. That works extra well. Canvas, you can edit videos on Canvas. What I did for mine is Camtasia. That one I had to actually pay for, but if you want something free, there's always Canvas. And my cell phone, I used my own cell phone as my camera. And the subtitles are so important. Accessibility. I will say that the subtitles have been my downfall because an hour-long presentation that's recorded can take forever to type up, especially if you're checking to see if the AI on Zoom correctly matched what you were saying or what the presenter was saying and actually putting the subtitles correctly. So there is some work that you have to do when it comes to subtitles. Questions on the stuff I have so far? I think we have something in the chat.
Yes.
Yes, keep it simple is key. Exactly. All right, so some successes that we've had with the professional development. Reminder, professional development for our school is the teacher's active participation and production of deliverables during training. So currently, professional development involving technology will be paid for as long as the teachers use it. I did talk with our director, and she did say that she is all for the professional development being on Canvas. So teachers who were not able to be there in person that night or that day will be paid for the professional development done on Canvas. And the great thing about Canvas is that it tracks how much time you spend on it. So the director or whoever will be paying, whoever's looking at the timesheets can go into Canvas and say, oh, look, they spent an hour 25. That's how much we were supposed to have for our professional development. Right now, there's only 3 professional development topics available that I'm working on, and that's because I have 2 hands. And I just kind of wanted to see the first time around how that would work in terms of the cell phone quality and whatnot. But I have gotten interest from admin who would like to be an extra hand in recording videos for future professional development. So that's great news. And one of the things that I noted here is that the professional development model should take as much time as an in-person professional development, just to make it fair for the ones who did have to come in person. That is one of my tests, and I've recruited a teacher or two to try out the professional development models, be my test subject, as it were. I can't use guinea pig anymore. My test subject to see if the modules online actually take as much time as the in-person professional development. So how does this alleviate some resistance with technology? Well, to access the professional development, they must use Canvas. And to get paid for that, they have to participate in the professional development within Canvas. So hopefully that alleviates some resistance, if anything. One of the things I have noticed when I announced this last Thursday, I sent a mass email out to teachers that professional development was now available on Canvas. I got 2 responses, but you know, that's because it was before the weekend. I got 2 responses that say, sign me up, I want to be part of this. And it's the usual suspects. But at least there will be some chatter, word of mouth going around. And my plan is to just reach out to teachers who were not physically able to come to the class or the PD because it wasn't on their schedule. And I'm gonna go and talk to them personally and ask them if they want to participate in it too. All right, questions on this part of the presentation? Cool, I'm gonna bring it up to Michelle. Oh, sorry. One more slide. What's next for Maricel? Well, fly, that would be great. So I need to make a plan to set up cameras and microphones for the next professional development. I know I said that, an admin or two offered to help with the recording session. So now I have to set up a plan of how I'm gonna get cameras to each of those professional development sessions when it's, different, when we have like 3 or 4 going on at the same time. Of course, the one I'm gonna be in is going to be recorded, but that's just me. And then there's the other sessions that need to be recorded too. So there's gonna be a plan for that. That is my last slide. So up next is Michelle, who's gonna talk about ESL.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Chuang. I am ESL curriculum chair from Eastside Adult Education. First, I want to show you the tech survey from our students. So before we go over to the detail from our part, I would like to ask you, do you do tech survey for your student?
Yeah.
Is it required by CASAS every year? Yes. Okay, so did you check the result and then work on the result?
I haven't checked it yet, but I know our admin has it, and you can share it with us, but I have a general sense, but yeah, it's.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, there's definitely, in our, district, a lot of people who are, I think, have challenges with tech, either just using it or just having access.
And how about you? What, sorry, what's?
Oh, Pleasanton? Pleasanton.
Pleasant.
We don't have any questions. No.
And how about Mount Level?
Yeah, so, we only have really one class that's online right now. They meet monthly in person. So the students that we're surveying are all attending in person. And pretty much overwhelmingly, they want to be in person.
They want to be in person.
Yeah,
Is that, are they ESL students?
yes. And the majority of our population, the majority of the students that have classes, that we've classes tested are probably 75% are very low level.
Yes. So, I think, the survey result.
We have a question in the
Okay,
chat,
yeah.
sorry. Do you survey your adult ed students? Sorry.
That was me posing
on-
the question.
Oh,
In the online world.
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you, Michael.
It's our own question. Yes, we do. We do survey our students every year. And then, our admin share the, survey result with us for, improvement. So, this is the most current, result we have. We did it, the one we did in fall 2022. I just want to bring your attention, with 3 questions here, in red. First one is, have you ever taken a class online? So 70% of students said no. And do you think you can learn online right now? 62% of students say no. And the last one here, do you need flexible study times? About half of the students say yes. So based on the result, we, 3 of us joined DLAC in year 2022, trying to help our program and our students. However, our biggest barrier, is not our students. Our biggest barrier is our teacher. Our inside teacher. So to help our students to learn online or improve the online instruction, we have our teacher have a difficulty. in learning how to teach the class online. So that's why three of us joined DLAC, and we're trying to, in addition to the PD, professional development. So you can hear from Michael and Maricel, they did their best to provide PD to our teachers. But what else can we do? So these are what we have done to improve ESL online instruction after the pandemic. So we came back to in-person classes in year 2021 and 22. So during this school year, we started our Canvas training for our teachers. And then we invited our Burlington English rep to our school to give workshop. We are a very loyal Burlington English user, so you should be very glad to hear that. And then we created a tech support position in our school to help our teachers. So this is a year after the pandemic. Then the year after that, year 2022 to 23, we did more, okay? So we keep our Canvas training for our teachers. And then we join DLAC in this school year. So we invited O10 trainer to give us the PD on adult education and digital learning guidance, to give our teachers some guideline on how to teach students online. And then we purchased Chromebooks for our students. So each of our classrooms has a Chromebook right now. And then we have the hardware, we have all the computers, but we have to prepare our students to use it because they don't know how to use it, even though they have a home card in the classroom, but they don't know how to use it. So we made the Chromebook user guide for our ESL students to help them to use the equipment. And then we invite our representative from Cambridge to have a workshop for our ventures textbook to help our teachers to use the online platform to teach our students online. Right, so this is what we did in year 2022 and 23. And it's this year. Okay, more. More. All right, so this year, we keep our Canvas training for our students. So this is the third year. All right, so we should see some results right after 3 years of training. All right, and then here, this year, we have another Burlington English workshop in our school, it's in person, okay? And then we had a new absent projector in our classroom. So we have a training from Maricel, all right, to train our teacher how to use the new projector, okay? All right, and then this year, we created one more tech support position in our school to help our students, okay? So now we have 2 tech support teachers to help our staff on any tech issues. Then this year, one of the big training in this year is we invited O10 trainer over to have a blended learning training for our teachers, because we are planning to have hybrid classes. So just like most of the adult school, I think most of the ESL students prefer to learn in person and they are afraid of computers. So this year, we're planning to have hybrid classes, which is in person plus online hybrid. Okay, so we have the O10 trainer over, okay, to give us teacher the training. So it's 12 hours of training for our teachers, okay? And then and also we got some assignment for our students, for our teachers to do, so in order to prepare them and make them ready for the hybrid class. All right, and then I think at the beginning of this year, we had a program-wide technology PD. So Maricel and Michael did a part from the PD. So we give all of our teachers, all the teachers in our program, the school-wide PD. So it's all about technology. All right, and And then one last thing, the most, current thing that we're working on is, because I'm working for ESL department, so, we are creating a new ESL digital literacy lessons for our ESL students. Right? So, we have the equipment, we have the trainers, we have the teachers ready, we have our Canvas course ready, right, but are our students ready? So we have to help them. So first, we help our teachers, we have all the equipment, we have all the software, we have all the hardware, but now it's our students, we need to help them, we need to make them ready for it, so that we can offer them. Any questions about online or our audience? All right, next one, all right. So, I want to talk more about our hybrid classes, okay? So, this is how we move from traditional to blended learning. Okay, blended learning is the modality that we're using for our hybrid classes, okay? So, the traditional, way of our, ESL classes are all in person from Monday to Friday, right? So, student and teacher meet in person from Monday to Friday with a fixed schedule, okay? But with the new, model, we have, in-person plus online instruction. For instance, like, they use brain language, or they, go to their campus course in the classroom, okay? From Monday to Thursday. But on Friday, their class turned into an asynchronous online class. So asynchronous means they don't need to come to school, they can stay home, or they can go to library, okay, to use the computer, okay, to take the class. Okay, so they don't need to show in person, but we do know that some students don't have equipment or the device at home. So we open our lab and we open our classroom for them to use our equipment at school. So they can still come to our school to use the computer or Chromebooks in our school if they don't have the device at home. Right? So this is what we do so far. So, we only started with 1 day a week for the asynchronous online class. So it's only 20% so far, but, we will increase. So, because we just start, and then this is just, we just want to do one small step at a time. Okay, so we started 1 day, and hopefully we can increase to more online days in the future. Everybody okay so far?
I have a question. During your online class, do you have a teacher available?
The teacher,
Available for the
Yes.
students?
yes. So, let me go back to, the slide. All right, so from here, last semester, we had the O10 blended learning teacher training. So we have 5 teachers join this training. So these 5 teachers are now our hybrid teachers. So these 5 teachers, are teaching the class with this new model. So, every Friday, these 5 classes, the teacher have their, courses posted on Canvas every Friday for students to take. So right now it's 5 classes. 5 classes.
What does the asynchronous class look like? Like, what kind of things do they have to do there?
Okay, so, right now we use Canvas. So all the class materials are on Canvas. So students just need to use the computer anywhere, if they don't need to come to school. So for instance, they have a computer at home, they just log into their Canvas course. And then the teacher have all the assignment, the instructions, the different activities on Canvas. So, the student just take it and then, from home. And then we give them, not just Friday, they can do it over the weekend. So as long as they turn in their homework before Monday. And then the teacher will check their activities on Canvas to make sure that they submit their homework, and then they will earn the attendance hours.
So it can be like, writing assignments or things on Burlington. just other-
Yeah, so for Burlington, I'm not sure. Do you have the shell that we can upload to, Canvas for students to practice? I know ventures do, right, but I'm not sure about Burlington.
Can you show us an example of what a class looks like for the teacher?
I will, but I don't have it right now, so maybe Michael can share something when we have a chance, because Michael is actually teaching one of the hybrid classes for us now. And so if you have time, or if you can find it, maybe you can share something a little bit with us. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question. So, can your teachers stay home too on that Friday?
Unfortunately, no, they have to come,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, but they will stay in their classroom, for students. If students have questions, they can still come to school and find their teacher to ask questions, but there will be no in-person teaching on Friday. So all the teaching, all the, courses are online, but the teacher is still available for questions. So you know what different way to answer a student's question? They can come in person, they can go on Zoom to ask questions. All right, everybody okay? Yeah. All right, next part, okay. So I just want to share with you some comparison of traditional way of learning and flipped learning, okay? So flipped learning is one of the model for blended learning, okay? So let's look at the traditional way. So a traditional way, teacher give lecture in the classroom, right? And students go home and do their activity. So this is the tradition we're all very familiar with this way. But with flipped learning, it's flipped upside down. So students take the lecture on the computer. They take the lecture on the computer. All right, so they might see the teacher on the computer. Okay, they can see the textbook on the computer. All right, and then they will get some activities. They can do the practice on the computer. Okay. Then after that, they come back to school, come back to the classroom. All right, so the classroom activity is more engaging. They can do some deeper discussion. They can collaborate with other students. And they can ask the teacher questions because they already learn here on the computer. They already learn what they need to learn, but they might have a lot of questions. So when they come back to the classroom, they have a chance to ask the teacher a question, or they have more chance to practice with other students. Okay. So the benefit of flipped learning is students watch lessons at home and they do activities in class. And students use face-to-face time with the teacher and with peers to engage in deeper discussion and collaborate projects and critical thinking. So these are more deeper activities that students do in the classroom. So the classroom time can be used more effectively. So students are no longer passive listeners in the classroom. The last thing, and teachers' role are transitioned from lecturer to facilitator. I think we all agree that as an ESL teacher, we try not to talk too much. Right? We want to let our students talk more, to practice more. Okay, so the teacher's role are facilitators instead of just giving lectures. Okay. So these are some benefits and the features about flipped learning. Okay, so everybody okay so far? Okay, so this is our current status, all right, so this semester. We want to compare our in-person and hybrid classes, okay, by our ESL levels, okay? So the blue bars are the in-person classes and the red bars are our hybrid. You can see, the in-person classes are still way more than our hybrid classes. All right, but this is the first semester we're doing hybrid classes. So, even though the numbers are very small, but I think it's a big step for us, for our program. Okay, right? And you can see, the red bars are mostly in higher level, right? All the bars are in higher level, okay? So, our pre-literacy and beginning low teachers are hesitant to do it, right? Even though we try to convince them, even though we try to give them professional development to train them. But they're still hesitant to do it. I think it takes a lot of time for them to learn how to teach students online. Right? So right now we have, let me show you my list. Chart. Okay, from here you can see the numbers. So this is again, this is in-person versus hybrid classes this semester. So here, these are in-person classes we have this semester, okay? And then for hybrid, we have one beginning high, one intermediate low, one intermediate high and two advanced classes in hybrid, okay? By comparing to our in-person classes, okay? And you can see most of our students are fall in lower level. So we're gonna start, we are starting with the upper level students and upper level teachers. And hopefully we can expand it and we can let more teachers to try our blended learning model with our students. Okay, any questions so far?
I have a question.
Yes.
So do you find, and maybe, Michael, just as far as Canvas utilization, are your lower level teachers using Canvas? Are they publishing their shells and getting their students in to where they might use it during their in-person days or might make the material available, or are they not using technology at all?
Well, just speaking to Canvas, beginning high, again, there's one teacher who's using this, putting English to work.
Right.
You know, they put it all in there, putting English to work one.
Mhm.
Putting English to work two doesn't actually work, but she's had great success. They really engaged with it. After that, it's intermediate, low and higher.
And to help our hybrid teachers, we use Friday morning as the collaboration time with their peers. So they can talk about the problem they have. Because this is new to us. And then this is the first time we try the hybrid classes with OTAN's help. So we really want to make it work. So every Friday, the 5 hybrid teachers get together and talk about their achievements and also talk about the problems that they have. So then we can help each other. Okay, so any other questions you have? All right, so Michael, do you have would you like to share your Canvas board a little bit?
I mean, I
So
can share
they
the
can-
screen, I could show them.
Yeah,
Yeah, let me make you.
Yeah, just share a little bit so they will have it. Let me share your modules then.
So, what's the enrollment in your online classes? What percentage of the population?
So right now, all of our classes are full. The
Okay.
maximum number we can take for each class is 33. 33. So 5 classes, that's more than 150 students.
So there were 33 enrolled in all of those online classes?
33, yes. So, they have to, it's still a 5-day class, so from Monday to Thursday, they have to come in person, but on Friday, they turn to online.
Okay, oh, the hybrid one. Right,
Yes.
right, right. Okay, I see. Okay.
There's some fried smells from Pescadero. That's not part of the lesson. So like this week, this is what I did. We've been talking about clauses. So essentially this through here, and I realize it's small. There's a little introduction, just discussing clauses and phrases in general. and then they focus on adjective clauses. Again, another, just something that I worked up, a little lesson on it. But then I link out to Common Lit. Some of you may be familiar with Common Lit, pre-built material. So there's a short reading there. And I have a class there, they all have an account. I won't go into it, but as you can see, only 2 students have actually done the work. Then they used quizzes. So based on that Abuelito Who reading, I put it into quizzes, it generates a quiz for them to do. Then this is an ed puzzle, I actually used Studio to record my, little lesson on taking the teachers or the students through the reading, and then questions will pop up. So it's using Canvas Studio to do a screen capture and narrate a bit of a lesson. And then I put it into Edpuzzle to turn it into an interactive quiz. And then just just a quiz on adjective clauses that I built in Canvas. And then just another lesson on reduced adjective clauses and another quiz on reduced adjective clauses. Again, that was just embedded, or I didn't embed it, I just linked it, but it's, I don't like to create every single quiz, so I use Quizlet, quizzes, a lot of these different tools, and then just try to embed it. So I think it's important when we think about Canvas, it's actually can just be a place where you you use all your other digital tools still, and then you place it in there.
You can see it's a lot of work for teachers, So I think the hesitation comes from the time. Our teachers don't have that much time and, most of the time are unpaid to, make their online course. So I think, in order to, convince or persuade our teachers to do it, I think we have to help them find the meaning of doing so. Okay. So, by doing online instruction, there are a lot of benefits. It's worth the investment, and they increase their skill set, and then they broaden their view, and then they help their students. Because many of the students, they need flexible time. They have other obligations. So just go back to my first slide. Can we of the survey? We can.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. 4 minutes left. Yeah. Only? Okay. Sorry, let's go back to the first slide real quick. All right, so go back to the survey results. So half of the students want to need flexible study times. And many of them, 70%, 62% are not ready for learning things online. But they do need flexible study time. So we need to have a teacher to find the meaning of doing so. Why do we do this? Okay. All right, so I think that's the end of my presentation.